You're welcome again this morning to this edition of Searching Heart. Last episode we were able to look at the gender issue, okay, based on the reality. Okay, some of those things are the things that make us to question reality. If life is the way it is, so it's perfect, how can we be sure anything is real? Well, at the bottom of all this, how can we be sure that God is real? Okay, how can we be sure that we have a good end and destiny as a species, as human beings? And this is the real question of existentialism. Okay, what can we be sure of? What can we afford to ignore? And these are the questions that we need to continuously ask. But I believe that some of these questions are embedded right before us, and when we look hard enough, we'll be able to answer them. So we're able to look at that, the reality of gender classification, and today we'll continue from where we stopped, and we'll look at a case for design. Okay, we stopped right at that point in the last episode, a case for design. Looking at the design of the horse. Okay, who said that the horse was for riding and the cow for eating? In the majority understanding of it, human understanding of it. Okay, there is something hidden there that comes naturally to every human being. Okay, somehow, if a human being looks at certain things, not everything, of course, it tends to come naturally. Okay, this thing should be like this. Okay, you don't need anybody to tell you that. There is a kind of feeling in you that yes, this should be like this. Let's take, for example, the ancient relationship between humans and dogs. Okay, there's a relationship between monkeys and trees. Of course, the evolutionarist an evolutionalist will say that, of course, the monkey evolved because of natural selection, okay, adaptation, and was adapted for the tree. And of course, that is his own understanding of it. And many other relationships, the cow and the ingret. Anywhere you see cows, or you see cattle, or you see wildebeest, or you see buffaloes, you see the ingret and other kinds of birds, okay, around that place. These relationships are called commensalist relationships. Sometimes they are deep enough, or we call them symbiotic relationships. Okay, so these are the things that we see in life that forces us to question and whether there is some sort of purpose within life, or life is just meaningless. Is life an accident, or was it designed? Okay, and we see these corporations ranging from the microbial level, okay, up into complex life. It has been already proven that there are certain microbes inside us, we human beings, that depend on us, okay, and they are living in their own ecosystem, harmless to us, and they depend on us. Okay, so this is what has been proven. And the most complex and the most bewildering of these relationships is the relationship between the man and the horse. Okay, it is more complex than most of these other relationships, at least for the naked eye. Okay, and why am I saying this? Many may not agree with what I'm saying, but why am I saying this? And there are certain characteristics that lead me to say this. Okay, first of all, the character and the purpose of a horse. Now, if you study the lifestyle of horses, you discover that they have a unique lifestyle. Well, they herd like any other ruminant animal, okay? They herd, but their build and physique is unique to them, okay? The cattle, wildebeest, buffaloes have a similar, deer, antelopes have similar build, but unique to the horse is that it loves to trot, okay? It loves to trot. These other animals, they move around, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, to graze, but the horse is unique for trotting. You want to call it running, okay? They run a lot. It is just their culture. They run. Another animal that does this is the antelope, of course. But the antelope is very small, and of course is equipped with horns, and is better for as game rather than what the horse is popularly used for, which is as a beast of burden, okay, especially as a means of transportation, okay. So the horse loves to trot, and its lifestyle is uniquely centered around trotting, running, okay, some kind of athletic ability, okay. It is built as an athlete animal, okay. That is the horse. Now, like we said, there are other animals that have a similar lifestyle, like the antelope, but again the horse has one other advantage to it: comfortability, okay, and practicability, okay. The shape of the horse, the way it has this flowing hair on the back of the mane and the back of the head, you know, and the general aesthetic quality of the horse just makes it so unique, even as different from zebra, as different from a donkey, okay. It is just unique, okay. So the horse has this very unique quality, okay. And then it is that only animal, because of these two qualities, it is the only animal that is suited for the physiology of the man, okay, the physiology of the human being. The human being, of course, does not go on four legs. He stands up, the only primate to stand up erect, okay. And when a human being mounts a horse, you know, there is that natural flow aesthetically and qualitatively that just fits, okay. It's like a puzzle. If you want to put a puzzle together, one side fits the other. And there are many of these things in nature, okay. Scientists say that, okay, evolution, from the microbial point, evolution, you know, because we are all from the same source, of course those parts of the puzzle naturally developed together and then broke out that way. But we are not, our genetics are not anywhere close to horses, okay. That is for sure. The family or genus separated quite a long way, if at all we evolved, quite a long way before we got to where we came to, okay. We are more related, of course, to chimpanzees, gorillas and all that, monkeys, than we are to the ruminant animals, okay, horses, donkeys and the rest of them. So very far down the line. So how did that relationship now develop? Okay, let's compare it to the relation between cattle and ingrants. What do ingrants do around cattle? They follow cattle around because, of course, the cattle move, and when they move, they bring insects out of their hiding, and the ingrant would eat from that. The ingrant can also pick from the body of the cattle, insects that perch on the cattle. Okay, this is very, well, a little similar but very different from the relationship between them. This is a more intelligent and qualitative relationship, the relationship between a man and a horse. Only an intelligent person like the human being can build this kind of relationship with a horse, okay. and tap from this aesthetic quality, okay, this natural aesthetic quality and culture of the horse. And this is what we see in that relationship. And I believe that these are some of the signs that show that life was designed, okay. Life didn't just come up accidentally, okay. It was designed. Just because we are too small to have, or too weak intellectually to have a relationship with the designer, does not mean there is no designer. Our observations should tell us that there is a designer, okay. This complex relationship points to a designer. We can talk about our relationship with dogs, of course, and this is another very important relationship. Why is a dog not a wolf? Okay, we've been able to also domesticate lions and tigers and all that, but to a lesser degree than dogs, okay. So when you look at the ecosystem itself, you discover that without human beings, I've discussed this before, the ecosystem will thrive. It will thrive, okay. But human beings were created, and then one of the things that we see to legitimize this is the relationship between the human being and the dog, the human being and the horse, okay. You can add donkeys to that, but the horse is very prominent in all this, okay. So this shows that there is a place for us, and it was specifically created because we are intelligent, and our creator wanted us to have it easier, okay, to have an easier way meandering our way through the ecosystem, okay. So this is just what I see. I think our normal intelligence should tell us that, okay. So the horse is an animal with character, with purpose, comfortability, and practicability, okay, and merging out all that, okay. The horse is best suited for the physiology and the psychology, not only the physiology but the psychology of the human being, okay. And this is very important. So we will go ahead to look at other things as concerns the reality of life, of the existence of human beings, okay. The reality of life and existence of human beings, supporting intelligent design, okay. We've looked at the cosmic cooperation between human beings and animals, and not only that, cosmic cooperation between different organisms all over the world, okay. Of course, the scientists say yes, all these things is a result of evolution because life is from one source, but the quality of it is beyond accidental. I have made that case over and over again. The quality and the diversity is beyond accidental. Now, one of the things that we must look at to give us a hint is our own design. We have succeeded to create what we call artificial intelligence, okay. And I was listening to one of the guys in Google who said he was one of the first to engage in that project, and he left Google because of what he saw. He was shocked, the awe of what he discovered. He didn't want to, he had some ethical dilemmas surrounding this very discovery. And for me, that discovery of artificial intelligence shows us that at best we are a result of an artificial intelligence, okay. At the worst, or you can say at best or at worst, we are a result of an artificial intelligence. And if it took this long for us to reach that, we should know that an accident could not have created us, could not have created this world, okay. This at worst would have been the result of artificial intelligence, okay, that has worked its way to create, this final result. And of course, that may be the view of an atheist, but for me, I believe this is an intelligent and purposeful creation of God himself. Okay, so when we go to a scripture in Psalms chapter 8 verse 4 in the Bible, we will see a scripture that is very, very common, okay, and very, very important and very popular. And the scripture says, "What is man that you are mindful of him?" Okay, what is man that you are mindful of him? The Son of Man that you care for him. Yet you have made him a little lower than the angels, and you crown him with glory and majesty. And this is an observation of a man called King David. Okay, he was not the first to discover this awe-inspiring truth that I'm talking about. Okay, and he saw humanity at the pinnacle of creation, and he marveled, and he was wondering, who is responsible? Oh, God. In those days they took it for granted that God, there was the reality of God, of course, but his marvel was, who is man? What is God's plan for human beings? Okay, that was his marvel. Who is man that you are mindful? What do you want of us? What do you want us to do? And this is the question that we all ask, and that is what leads other people to say, okay, no, they don't want that responsibility, so they say it's not true, there's no God. Okay, just to run away from responsibility. Nobody wants to have a job that he cannot do, and when the job becomes too great, of course the easy way is to say it's not true, there's no such person asking us to do this and that. Okay, so this is what Psalms chapter 8 verse 4 tells us. And the psalmist's aim is to praise the object, to praise God, and he begins by using this idiomatic expression. And this idiomatic expression determines the whole of this very chapter in the book of Psalms. Okay, he starts by saying that, look, human beings are like babies. You have put praise in the mouth of babes. Okay, that means you've given infants something they, literally cannot handle. Okay, you have elevated somebody that is so small in his own mind. Okay, according to King David, God has ordained praise in the mouth of babes. Humanity to him can be compared to an infant, which expresses God's great wisdom and irony of his nature. He, instead of using the angels to show this glory, he decides to use meager humanity. Okay, this is what so astounded David. Okay, for him, God had spirit beings, messengers called angels. Why didn't he choose to use angels? Why did he choose human beings to do this great work? The enigma of God's choice is what the psalmist wonders about, and as he discovers it, he chooses to praise and to thank God. David discovers in this text what only few people are privileged to discover in their lifetime, and this discovery makes human beings want to live for something greater than themselves. And that is why a lot of human beings want to lead, because they see things. When they are in the position of leadership, they see things that others do not see. Okay, so this is just the truth about life. In those days, of course, only the rich were able to ride horses, of course, because horses were expensive. Okay, the best things in life come at the pinnacle of prosperity. Okay, the best things of life. And we talked about prosperity in the last 2 episodes. Okay, that prosperity is a very, very important part of God's desire for us human beings, and that is why He made us. According to the Bible, He put us in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was a garden with everything we needed. Okay, the earth itself, I would want to argue, and most people would agree with me, that it has everything we need. There's a verse in the Bible for that. He has given us all we need for life and for godliness. Okay, so the earth itself is a garden. It's a beautiful garden. It has all. The astronomers have discovered this. Going to space, the whole solar system does not have any planet like the earth. Okay, so the earth itself is a unique place. Okay, we'll continue to look at this after this short break.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with 2 insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
In the position of leadership, and especially when when certain things can be taken for granted, okay, human beings can rise to a point where they will see things that ordinarily would not have been clear to them. And this is the importance of prosperity. Okay, that is why a lot of people yearn to lead, because when they are in the position of leadership, when they ride on aeroplanes, well, in our time, they go from country to country and see different tribes, something an ordinary citizen of the world is not able to do. They gain a new perspective. Okay, this is what David encountered as king of Israel. During his first victory over his neighbors, he was able to visit all these different countries, and that is what led him to cry out and say, "Oh God, you have given us so much power. Who are we? Why are you so interested in us?" Okay, so prosperity in the 21st century, human beings, the more human beings became prosperous, the more they developed. That is why it is true that development is a child of prosperity. Okay, prosperity is positive, and we looked at that in the other episode, talking about the ark. Okay, talking about the Ark of the Covenant, the symbols in the Ark of the Covenant. That prosperity is a very important part of God's will for us, and that is why human beings must work, albeit responsibly, towards this. Okay, so we begin to see it. We begin to want to do things differently, and we begin to see the problems of humanity, and we want to try to solve them. The question that I, for one, have always asked, rather, is how. Yes, it's good to see the problems, but how do you solve them? The problem I've observed is not only in knowing that the problem needs to be solved. Of course, that is the beginning of solving the problem, but more importantly, in knowing how the problem should be solved. So Genesis 11 verse 1 to 7 tells us the story of the Tower of Babel. The people discovered, look, unity is a solution to our problem. Okay, but their solution of how to achieve that unity was flawed. Okay, they decided to build a tower that will reach the skies. Just like in our own generation, of course, our people wanted to go to the moon and they achieved it. Okay, in their generation, it was a similar project, but of course they did not have the engineering know-how to prosecute that project. Okay, and so they wanted to go into the sky, build a tower that would go get to heaven, and of course they did not succeed. and because of that, their language was confused, okay, and they scattered and spread all over the earth. Of course, forced to obey what God had told them first, that they should fill the earth, okay, populate the earth, spread all over it and populate it. So this is what we see in that very scripture, Genesis 11. Another time in human history was the time of the Romans, okay. A similar project was embarked upon, but this time it was a more economically viable project, okay, for their stage of development. The Romans built the Silk Road, okay. They built networks of roads that spanned the whole empire, the known world at that time, okay, and this was their goal, to unite human beings instead through trade. And of course they used warfare also, but through trade. And this was a more pliable goal, and this was successful, okay. And I've always said that the coming of Jesus Christ during that period was not an accident, and this is another biblical evidence of intelligent design, and this is what we looked at 2 episodes back, okay. Reality. How do we see reality? Do we see reality based on just coincidences, or based on deliberate plans? Okay, the relationship between the human being and the horse, is it a coincidence, or is it a deliberate plan? Okay, to jumpstart human understanding, to jumpstart human ability to embark on technological adventures. Okay, so this is the thing. Some things are not just accidents, they are deliberate. Okay, so this is what we need to see. Okay, so we saw this happening. The Romans succeeded, okay, and mostly they saw themselves as tools of God, okay, notwithstanding their very feeble understanding. Of course, Jesus Christ did not destroy their civilization. Instead, he used the church to take over that civilization, if we want to see it that way. I know that some will still see it as an accident. The church taking over the Roman Empire, was it an accident or was it deliberate? Okay, so all these things we'll look at. So was this an accident, okay, or was it deliberate? Okay, and Jesus Christ, after his death and resurrection, commanded his disciples to go out there and make disciples, and through rigor, through a lot of difficulty, finally 3 generations or 3 centuries after, the church actually took over the Roman Empire. Okay, was this an accident? Of course not. It was not an accident that Jesus Christ came at the time the Greeks had changed the world philosophically, okay, and it was not an accident that his philosophy took over the world, okay. It was deliberate, and the more we understand this, the better for us in understanding what is real and what is not, okay. So this historical paradigm, if nothing else, proves that development is not a baby of violent imperialism. Okay, now this is a weakness of creation itself, which many of us will agree. Of course, the atheists, one of the things that atheists will say is that creation is too violent. Okay, life kills to survive. The lions will eat meat to survive. Okay, and there's kind of survival of the fittest when you study the ecosystem. Okay, yes, that is the weakness. But when you move up the ladder to the point where you see human beings revealed, okay, and we are so intelligent that we ask questions, like David asked, who are we? You know, in the midst of him conquering his neighbors, the Edomites, he asked the question, who are we? You have ordained praise in the mouth of babes. Who is man that you are mindful of him? And that question led to many things in the life of David himself and in the life of civilization. Okay, and you study the story of Alexander the Great also. He was forced to ask the same question when he went to Babylon and he discovered the civilization, the great civilization that was established there. He started asking questions. Okay, how can we claim to be superior to these people? Okay, and this is the question that most leaders get to ask. Okay? And this, for me, when you get into the Christian era, proves that violent imperialism is not the mother of civilization per se. Okay? It's not the mother of civilization per se. Okay? But freedom and the capacity of individuals to explore and be creative is the key factor in human civilization. I'm not talking about the civilization of lions. I'm not talking about the civilization of horses. I'm not talking about the civilization of apes. I'm talking about human civilization. That is what marks us out from any other species. Okay? So, the same thing we see in the Genesis 11 paradigm. Okay? God was not interested in them building one big empire. No. He was interested in them conquering the earth, dominating those other creatures and inanimate objects that exist on the earth. Okay? Of course, the need for leadership is always there, and that is the question that we ask when we reach this kind of conclusion. Okay? That is the question that we ask. So how do human beings get led? Okay, do we just allow everybody to just do whatever he wants to do? We know that that is not how civilization progressed either. Okay? The necessity of war was to get people together to work together, to establish a strong leadership that is influential among a wide variety of people. Okay? Of course, the leaders of the great conquering empires did lay the ground for trade and for security that facilitated development. Nevertheless, they also held it back for 3,000 years. This is one very rare view. You don't hear many people talking about it. Okay? They talk about it when they talk about evolution. They think human beings are dumb, and of course, because of that, for them it discounts creationism and emphasizes evolutionism. Okay? Evolutionism. But for me, I want to blame that on the imperfection of war itself. Okay? And my reasons are very, very clear. The technology that the Romans used to conquer the world is the same technology that the Egyptians had 3,000 years back. Okay? Why didn't the Egyptians or the Babylonians succeed 3,000 years before the Romans? And the secret is in Christian civilization. If you talk about the amphitheaters, the Egyptians had something close. Okay? If you talk about war machines, the Egyptians had something close. But what made the difference was the coming in of Christians that de-emphasized this megalomaniac building for the sake of human pride and glory, and began to talk about human relationships. They began to talk about human relations, talk about love of God and love of your neighbor. That was the key rule that established the Christian civilization. Okay, so this is the secret to civilization itself, and this opened the door for human beings to have the freedom to be creative, to have the freedom, okay, to think outside the box. Okay, we will look at this still after this short break. You will agree with me that it is clear that human development and strength can be mainly attributed to modern humanity. Okay? Modern human beings started to fast track development. And why was this? Because Christianity had already established a paradigm. Yes, it was part of the Greek culture of discussion, academic discussions, okay? But it was made possible by the kind of freedom offered through the moral conscience that the followers of Jesus Christ established, and also by reducing the ambitions of the kings that were more interested in building monuments for themselves rather than building churches for the people. So the more they built churches for the people, the more they respected the people, the more the people had freedom to articulate themselves. Okay, so this is what the difference was. Okay, and this was the culture that moved into the later centuries and established modernism. Science itself grew within this very atmosphere. Okay, later on, of course, there was still a disagreement, but this was the foundation laying process. Okay, radical debate and inquiry facilitated by the church age created modern civilization, even though there was a disagreement before this could happen. And that is the very reason, in my view, that the church prospered, the Christian church still prospered within modern civilization itself. Okay, because there is a very great agreement, okay, within Christian philosophy and modern scientific philosophy. In my view, the attempts to return to the pre-modern mystic paradigms that governed that age have created the dwindling of Christianity itself, because there is a misunderstanding among the leaders that mystic power is what governs Christianity. Okay, because of course Jesus Christ was said to have done a lot of miracles. Okay, so there's that disjointing thinking, and there's a tendency to rely too much on miracles at the expense of reason, which was the real power behind the Christian civilization. Read a lot about Constantine and how he led during his time. The councils of Nicaea, Carthage, and all that, okay? Alexandria, all those things. So when you read about that, you understand the real power behind the Christian civilization. It was not about miracles, rather it was about reason, it was about academic discussions, okay, and equality among the people, okay. This was what really drove the Christian civilization, okay, and what killed it was the elitism, okay, and we still see the same thing happening today. Okay, so this is what we need to understand, and this is how we are able to now judge and to understand reality. Okay, and knowing that historically religion does promote and foster slavery and dehumanization, and that biblically and experientially people respond to miracles only for the sake of mundane prosperity, we will know that the reason why the Christian civilization seems to be blamed for the most negative things, while actually it is the mother of modern civilization. We'll talk more about this. God, the great and powerful creator, chose to make this feeble creature called man, who for all intents and purposes is so weak that makes some people to doubt the very existence of God himself. And this is something that we must understand. One of the foundations of atheism is that, the human physiology it looks so imperfect. Okay, there are animals that have a physiology that seems better than human beings. Well, I disagree very strongly with that. Where they have strengths, they have very great weaknesses. Okay, you look at that very clearly. Because they cannot do what we do. It's just simple. Okay, no matter how you want to emotionalize it, talking about the climate and all that, we're yet to see. You kind of throw away the issue of purpose. Okay, if the Earth is just that unique planet among a vast desolation of planets that don't have anything, and there are these animals within that place that just keep on, living alone in that very beautiful place without any other thing, without visiting any other planet. What good is that? Okay, for me, what good is that? The creation of human beings that are able to build machines that go out of this very planet and visit those desolate planets makes for purpose, okay? Makes for something unique than just a group of wonderful animals, living in this wonderful garden of Eden and nobody cares, okay? But now that these unique beings called human beings can visit other planets, somebody is going to care. Even if he does not exist, he's going to care. Okay, at least Pluto kind of looked around and he saw that little probe called the Horizons. New Horizons just passed by. That was something that's unique. The unmoved mover. Everything is going to stand in a position of relative motion until impacted by another force. It is the law of physics. So human beings have created a force that has impacted another force, and this is how life started. So I think that this should lead us to one conclusion: we are special, and we were created with a purpose. Intelligent design. Okay, Aristotle, the unmoved mover. Okay, the ens necessarium. All right. So, like we talked about in my own words, okay, in the other episode when we started this very series of reality. Okay. So the human physique is weak, yes, but it is still the strongest. Okay? Yet this great God creates man and installs him as leader and the most dominant being in the earth, in this one small earth that he has created. Okay? Greater than the elephant, greater than the whale. In this enigmatic design, the feeble body is the very tool of human and in effect godly dominance. Okay, God hides his power and lets the feeble human wield it. Okay, so this is what Christ did. He refused to show his power. What he does in the greater system, he does in the micro system. Okay, in refusing to show himself and creating weak humanity, he repeats that same act by coming to die on the earth, refusing to show his power and allowing we feeble human beings to wield the power. Okay, it is a glorious discovery in my view. Okay, and it is what causes us and some of the greatest men who have ever lived and women to marvel and change their minds. Sometimes in war, somebody sees a human being and says, I want to kill him. And something changes his mind. Let him live. It has happened so many times in war. What causes this? Is this realization. The realization that David had. Seeing God's wonderful wisdom and his greatness within the whole chaotic environment. Okay, it changes our minds. Say, what is man that you are mindful of him? And of course, for me, it helps us to begin to say, how? If I am going to lead these people, how am I going to do it? What is the best way? And not just, instinctively do what a lion might do, what an elephant might do, what a horse might do. No, I ask, I'm a human being. How? Is there a better way of doing this thing? I believe that in this century, we have gone back to the worst things imaginable. Slavery, war and killings are solutions to every problem. We have moved from putting shackles on the arms and the feet of human beings and hauling them into cages and ships. And we have used capitalism and indeed socialism to still enslave people. I believe that this is a time There is no greater time, like many have said, to be alive, and this is the time that we must rethink and really study how we got here. And by studying how we got there, we will realize that we are indeed real and we have a real purpose. I am David Dungi Chinke for you today again in Searching the Heart.